light. But over at your place the mood is bleak, 'cause you're still worshiping that orange freak. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. You're on the naughty list, it's true. With your lies and your hate and your QAnon crew. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. You're crying about Starbucks cups again, while billionaires rob you blind with a grin. You shout fake news at facts you don't like and scream lock her up on your Facebook mic. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. You're stuck in a Fox News echo zoo. Your MAGA merch smells like hypocrisy stew. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. Oh, you can't spell truth. You're stuck in a booth with a flag and a hat and no grasp of the facts. Santa tried to help, but he gave up too, 'cause he'd rather give coal to someone who's cool. Jingle bells, Trumpy smells, your logic ran away.
Your brain is fried, your grifted pride makes Christmas such a day.
Merry Christmas to everyone but you. The Grinch has more heart than your whole crew. We'll toast to a future where justice shines through. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. So deck the halls with kindness and cheer, but keep your MAGA nonsense out of here. 'Cause peace and love won't stick like glue when Merry Christmas is wasted on you.
The snow is falling, the fires are light. Families gather for a cozy night. But over at your place the mood is bleak, 'cause you're still worshiping that orange freak. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. You're on the naughty list, it's true. With your lies and your hate and your QAnon crew. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. Cry about Starbucks cups again, while billionaires rob you blind with a grin. You shout fake news and facts you don't like and scream lock 'em all up on your Facebook mic. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. You're stuck in a Fox News echo zoo. Your MAGA merch smells like hypocrisy stew. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. In a booth with a flag and a hat. Santa tried to help, but he gave up too, 'cause he'd rather give coal to someone who's cool. Jingle.
Sugar plums dance with the dead. Santa's sleigh just came from hell. Now Christmas has some tales to tell. Jingle bells, the truth prevails. Frost is melting, hear the wow. Merry Christmas and hail Satan. Satan. Burn the tree, we're celebrating. Reindeer riot in the snow. Let the fires grow. No silent nights, no holy land. This year's gift is contraband. So raise your horns with anarchy. Let's all dance on the Christmas tree. Merry Christmas and hail Satan. Turn it up, we're celebrating. Raise your horns, the night is young. Let's make this fucking Christmas come undone.
Fuck you! Oh, the snow is falling, the fire's alight. Families gather for a cozy night. But over at your place, the mood is bleak. 'Cause you're still worshipping that orange freak. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. You're on the naughty list, it's true. With your lies and your hate and your QAnon crew. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. You're crying about Starbucks cups again, while billionaires rob you blind with a grin. You shout fake news at facts you don't like and scream lock her up on your Facebook mic. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. You're stuck in a Fox News echo zoo. Your MAGA merch smells like hypocrisy stew. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. Oh, you can't spell truth. You're stuck in a booth with a flag and a hat and no grasp of the facts. Santa tried to help, but he gave up too. 'Cause he'd rather give coal to someone who's cool. Jingle bells, Trumpy smells, your logic ran away.
Your brain is fried, your grifted pride makes Christmas such a day.
Merry Christmas to everyone but you. The Grinch has more heart than your whole crew. We'll toast to a future where justice shines through. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. So deck the halls with kindness and cheer, but keep your MAGA nonsense out of here. 'Cause peace and love won't stick like glue when Merry Christmas is wasted on you.
The snow is falling, the fires are light. Families gather for a cozy night. But over at your place the mood is bleak, 'cause you're still worshipping that orange freak. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. You're on the naughty list, it's true. With your lies and your hate and your QAnon crew. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. Cry about Starbucks cups again, while billionaires rob you blind with a grin. You shout fake news and facts you don't like and scream lock 'em all up on your Facebook mic. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. You're stuck in a Fox News echo zoo. Your MAGA Your merch smells like hypocrisy stew. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. Oh, you can't spell truth. You're stuck in a booth with a flag and a hat. Santa tried to help, but he gave up too, 'cause he'd rather give coal to someone who's cool. Jingle bells, Trumpy smells, your logic ran away. Your brain is fried, your grifted pride makes Christmas such a day. Hey! Hey! Merry Christmas to everyone but you. The Grinch has more heart than your whole crew. We'll toast to a future where justice shines through. Merry Christmas to everyone but you. So deck the halls with kindness and cheer, but keep your mega nonsense out of here, 'cause peace and love won't stick like glue when Merry Christmas is wasted on you.
The mix fix is here, time to break the chains. Your mind will melt, time to light the flames. The mix fix, groove and doom collide. Get your fix, ride the cosmic tide. Streams of power, madness entwined. Tune in now, leave the bullshit behind. The mix fix, groove and doom collide.
for the dead, pages bound in human flesh. Feasting the beast from the blood, the words were said. I am unseen, dreamt the sacred passage aloud. Trapped in a dream of the Necronomicon. 7 lords of an evil and fatal force levitate through the secret and ancient doors. Unbegun, permeating bizarre, swept away to the castle of Cantar. Cantar. Seeking the tomb, try to possess immortal sleep, visions of death, drank of the blood, water of life, splendorous sun, show me the sign. You are dead. You are dead. Blanketing fear, unknown to man, demons appear, death they command, dead by dawn, 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 dead by dawn. Blasphemate me. We are, we are, we are, we are. We are what was and shall rule again. Dead by dawn, chanting death, the ancient hymn. This is not real, I am not the chosen one. Trapped in a spell of Necronomicon. Tortured pain in the palace of death. Recitate through the passages I dreamt. Dead, dead by dawn. Dead, dead by dawn.
who is going to lead the Democrats in 2028? Because you hear chirping here and there, but this new poll just revealed a clear early frontrunner for the Democratic presidential nominee for 2028. And also, one of the things it shows in hard numbers is that Democrats are much more divided than Republicans are about who should be the next president. And so in getting into the details, this newly released Yale Youth poll, it surveyed more than 3,400 registered voters, including around 1,700 aged 18 to 34. And what they found is that California Governor Gavin Newsom is the top choice among Democrats for the presidential primary, leading by 25%. And Newsom, he's followed by Kamala Harris at 18%, AOC at 16%, and Pete Buttigieg at 14%. And those four are the only candidates who receive more than 5% support right now. But then also, when you break it down by age, the numbers, they tell a very different story. Right, a huge plurality of Newsom's support, they come from voters 65 and up, with 38% of that group saying that they'd vote for him if the primaries were held today. But then for the three different categories of voters aged 18 to 34, AOC takes the lead, gaining nearly 30% or more among all those age groups. In fact, AOC absolutely dominated Newsom across the demographic. She's got nearly double the support he has for voters 18 to 34, and she still majorly outperforms him with 35 to 44-year-olds. But then support for AOC really starts to drop off among respondents 45 and older. Right, among the 45 to 64 age group, AOC has half as much support as both Newsom and Harris, who clocked in at 22 and 23%. Also, very significantly here, Democrats are pretty evenly split over whether the party should embrace moderate or progressive policies. 49% said that Dems should moderate their policies, while 45% said that they need to focus on turning out their voter base by running progressive platforms. And then with all that, unsurprisingly, you see a breakdown by age, with the majorities of voters 18 to 34 saying the party should shift progressive, while a larger share of 45 to 65 plus groups said that it needs to be more moderate, and then voters 35 to 44 were evenly split. And so clearly we see that progressive policies and left-leaning candidates like AOC, they have a lot of sway with a big chunk of younger Americans. But then also the real question is whether she or really anyone can mobilize voters. Right, data from Pew Research Center shows that voters 50 and older, they were literally the only age groups that had a higher ratio of voters to non-voters in the last two presidential elections. For every other age group under 50, people who chose not to vote at all, they outnumbered those who actually voted. Now, with all of that said, we shouldn't say that this is a done deal or even going to give us fantastic insight. Right, none of these three people have even officially announced that they're going to run. Though with that, back in October, you had Newsom telling CBS that he'd be lying if he said he wasn't considering a potential run. Harris, too, has left the option open, saying she's not done when asked about a potential second run. And then, while this new poll shows that she's the clear progressive frontrunner, AOC hasn't publicly hinted that she's interested in the job, at least in 2028. But then also with this, I'll say, very interestingly, despite the fierce and ongoing Republican civil war that's been playing out, the Republicans, they actually appear to have a much clearer picture on what they might want in the next election, at least compared to the Democrats. Right, because while the Democratic frontrunner led with just 25%, a majority of Republicans, 51%, said that J.D. Vance was their preferred presidential nominee. And possibly even more important, that is more than 6 times the amount of support of the second-ranking candidate, which oddly enough was Donald Trump Jr. at 8%. And then after that, you get kind of a...
Yeah. Of course. Of course they go with the only person they can find that's more unlikable than Trump. Oh my God. Yeah. Put him up against anybody. It'll be a fucking slaughter in the debate. Oh my God. Alexa, lights out. Jesus Christ.
Trickling Ron DeSantis clocking in just below that, Nikki Haley and Marco Rubio each getting 5%, though notably you also had RFK Jr. and Tucker Carlson making it on the leaderboard with 3%. But also, maybe most significantly here, that the poll showed that the Republicans, they are still very much the party of Trump. Because when Republicans were asked who they would vote for in the primaries if they were held today, and Trump was allowed to run for a third term, the president just took the cake. 50% of Republicans said that they'd back Trump again for a third term, more than double the 19% that J.D. Vance got. And so, all of this, I think it's important to know, like, this is not a crystal ball. It doesn't even necessarily show us the path, but I think it does show us the temperature at this moment. Right, but then, next up today, we should talk about how Ron DeSantis, Florida's governor, just designated one of the largest Muslim advocacy groups in the United States as a foreign terrorist organization. And across the political spectrum, you've seen some loving this, some hating this, some saying, where's this energy for AIPAC? Right, but the group that we're talking about today is the Council on American-Islamic Relations, also known as CAIR. And this move from DeSantis isn't actually breaking new ground. It follows a similar declaration that was made last month by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. And actually, both of the orders apply not only to CAIR, but the Muslim Brotherhood, right? And the Muslim Brotherhood started in Egypt almost a century ago, and it now has a number of affiliated groups overseas. And while their leaders say that they've renounced violence, right? They're seeking to set up Islamic rule through elections and other peaceful means. It's viewed as a threat by certain governments in the Middle East, and it's been accused of supporting terrorism. And so the Trump administration, for example, they've accused certain Muslim Brotherhood factions of backing attacks against Israel and other American partners in the region, as well as providing material support to Hamas. And actually with that, the White House recently began the process of designating certain chapters as foreign terrorist organizations and specially designated global terrorists. Right, and the DeSantis order actually references that process as justification for its own designation, and they extended to CARE by claiming that the organization was founded by persons connected to the Muslim Brotherhood. And with that, they reference alleged links to the Holy Land Foundation, which is a group that was federally designated as a terrorist organization back in 2001. And some of its leaders are now serving sentences of up to 65 years in federal prison. Though there, I also have to note that some have questioned how that case was handled. Where Human Rights Watch, for example, they've condemned the process and called for the release of those convicted. But in any case, as far as what the Florida order actually means for CARE, it's not totally clear yet, and it doesn't carry anywhere near the same weight as a federal designation, but still you had DeSantis writing, Florida agencies are hereby directed to undertake all lawful measures to prevent unlawful activities by these organizations, including denying privileges or resources to anyone providing material support. But looking into it, this order actually doesn't appear to prohibit CARE or the Muslim Brotherhood, for that matter, from buying land in the state. And I mention that because the Texas order, unlike the Florida order, does bar both groups from purchasing property in the state, and it also authorizes the state attorney general to sue to shut them down in Texas. And also, speaking of the Texas order, CARE has already sued Abbott in federal court, as well as announced its plans to sue DeSantis over what the group described as an unconstitutional and defamatory order. Right? And then with that, accusing DeSantis of being an Israel-first politician, and adding, Governor DeSantis knows full well that CARE Florida is an American civil rights organization that has spent decades advancing free speech, religious freedom, and justice for all, including for the Palestinian people. But as far as, what's going to happen from here, I will say, it's probably going to be an uphill battle for the group. But I mean, on top of the executive order, you had DeSantis claiming that the Florida legislature is crafting legislation to, quote, stop the creep of Sharia law. Right, and then adding that he hopes the legislature codifies these protections for Floridians against CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood in their legislation. Also, a big thing here is that at the federal level, you've had Secretary of State Marco Rubio suggesting in the past that similar actions were in the works. And that is, conservative lawmakers have previously urged Trump to investigate CARE and have even introduced legislation to designate it as a terrorist group.
Good Lord.
We've got more to dive into in just a minute, but first let me say, you may be thinking, why does... So getting back into the news, I really wanted to dive deeper on this whole Paramount, Netflix, Warner Brothers situation. Because among other things, more and more people are worried that David and Larry Ellison, they're going to shape CNN to President Trump's will. And again, that's just one of many concerns that people are bringing up as Trump has found himself right in the middle of this Warner Brothers merger. Because as you've probably seen, Netflix already announced that they'd be buying WB, but Paramount then launched a hostile takeover bid. And while often hostile takeover bids, they fail, and both of these options, they come with red flags, this is a unique situation, right? There's the Trump of it all, and among other things, you have tons of people worried about Paramount's ties to Donald Trump. Its CEO is David Ellison, the son of Trump ally Larry Ellison, and the funding for Paramount's offer is backed by Ellison family money, foreign wealth funds, and Trump's own son-in-law Jared Kushner. Something that many found alarming because if Paramount succeeds in its bid, it'll own CNN, a major news network that Trump loves to openly hate. And with all this, it's been reported that David Ellison has been speaking directly to Trump's administration about his plans for it. You had the Wall Street Journal claiming that on a recent trip to DC, David Ellison offered assurances to Trump administration officials that if he bought Warner, he'd make sweeping changes to CNN, and Trump has told people close to him that he wants new ownership of CNN as well as changes to CNN programming. And this also comes as The Guardian actually previously reported that Larry Ellison had been talking to the White House about firing CNN anchors that Trump hates the most. And if the idea of media moguls wooing Trump by promising to reshape the news network sounds like corruption to you, you'd be right. But with that, I'll say, at least as of right now, neither the White House or Paramount has commented on that reporting. But for his part, yesterday you had David Ellison laying out plans for CNN, saying it could be combined with CBS News, which Paramount already owns, and adding, we want to build a scaled news service that is basically fundamentally in the trust business, that is in the truth business, and that speaks to the 70% of Americans that are in the middle. Though there, you also had a lot of people kind of rolling their eyes and pointing to Barry Weiss being the head of CBS News now. But that said, Trump's role in all this, it's still one of the biggest conversation points right now. And interestingly, in his most recent comments, he's actually tried to distance himself from the merger, telling reporters yesterday that he had not discussed Paramount's bid with Jared Kushner and claiming that neither Netflix or Paramount are particularly great friends of mine. But the thing is, Trump himself already said that he would be involved in the decision. And that's even though he shouldn't be, right? Presidents are not supposed to have influence over corporate deals. Exactly. But that obviously is not how Trump wants to play. And with that, you had the Journal reporting further. The president will want Paramount and Netflix to compete for his approval of a deal. With everything that we've talked about here, this is just the politics of it. There are also concerns about what this means for the future of movies, the entertainment industry, people's jobs, and consumption of media. And there, I'll say, it does feel like to me, whoever wins, it feels like consumers will ultimately lose. But also, there are tons of other antitrust concerns coming from all angles. Right this morning, Reuters reported that Netflix is facing a consumer lawsuit over its bid for WB, and you have op-eds left and right discussing how both of these deals stand to impact and harm the movie theater industry. And so because there's just so much going on here, I spoke to Senator Elizabeth Warren this morning, because she's been sounding off the alarm saying that a Paramount-Warner Brothers merger would be a 5-alarm antitrust fire. And so I wanted her to unpack that as well as respond to defenses of these deals. So Senator Warren, I mean, what is your biggest concern with Paramount trying to take over Warner Brothers?
You know, where do we start? Let's back up just a tiny little bit about takeovers. And that is, there are basically three groups of actors in any business. And one are the people who actually produce the stuff, you know, make movies and drive trucks and pitch scripts and do all those things. Then there are the people who buy that, the customers, right? And they pay for it. That's terrific. And then there are the investors who put up the money to make this happen. And so what's happening right now is that we have Netflix, for example, and now Paramount saying, hey, to their investors, we can make so much more money. We can make buckets of money. We can make wheelbarrows of money. And you got to stop and ask yourself, how are they going to do that? They don't have some pitch that somehow by making either of these mergers, they're going to make better movies. They don't have some pitch that by either one of these, they're somehow going to get more customers in. No, what the pitch ultimately is they're going to squeeze the people who actually make the movies. They're going to squeeze the truck drivers and the people who pitch movies. There are going to be fewer options, fewer places for them to go. And that means you pay less, you make less of it. And the other is they'll squeeze the customers. In the case of streaming, they'll up the prices on the streaming. So between the three, the game is, can they merge and get a bigger market share? And as a consequence of that, bring more money out of the other two groups. And that's my problem here. We have antitrust laws.
No one's ever going to stop, and corporate America does whatever the fuck they want.
Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. And yes, it is true. He is here. Music review royalty, honestly. I feel like there are a few guys in this space who have been doing it for so long that, you know, I feel like I'm in the presence of greatness, of one of the GOATs on this platform when it comes. I feel you guys is here, internet's busiest. Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. And yes, it is true. He is here. Music review royalty, honestly. I feel like there are a few guys in this space who have been doing it for so long that, you know, I feel like I'm in the presence of greatness, of one of the GOATs on this platform when it comes to music commentary across the board. As you guys who follow me know, there are a lot of YouTube channels. We have a lot of options across social media currently when it comes to anybody.
The reason Anthony Fantano's interviews are so long is because it takes him an hour to shut the fuck up and let his guest speak. And then he lets his guest speak for like 30 seconds, and then he starts going into another hour-long rant. Good God.
Talking about all stripes of music, be it formal reviews, music essays, podcasts, and anything in between. But this man, for years now, well over a decade, has formulated a style, a look, and an aesthetic that truly is all his own. You know, what else am I to say other than just, you know, thank you, Todd in the Shadows, for coming through and, you know, subjecting yourself to this interview.
It's good to finally meet Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. Finally meet. No, I don't really consider myself royalty. I'm just a guy who's been doing it a long time.
I mean, you know, it is as far as like, look, and this will be a part of our conversation as well. But like, as you already know, like, YouTube careers tend to operate in dog years, maybe pigeon years if you're lucky. Some of the biggest names, people who have hit peaks commercially and views wise that are higher than we'll ever reach to, ended up burning out long before we did. So to be doing it as long as we have, as consistently as we have with people who are passionate about what we do, I think says something.
It's, yeah, I honestly have no idea how I'm still doing this. I think I'm just like, I don't know. I use this quote a lot, but I read somewhere someone say most actors are failed waiters. Like, that's how I kind of feel about this job. I just kind of fail at everything else. Like, this is just the only thing I know really how to do. I do this with the stupid gimmick and everything because I was trying to teach public school at the time when I started this, and I didn't want to follow me around. I lived in a small town.
Right.
So I did this, but like I never really got a full-time teaching job. Because most of my energy was going into the videos. And I've eventually, after like 3 years, I was like, I guess this is my job now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there are unconscious choices that we tend to make very early on in our media content creation careers that maybe we're not like, putting that much calculation into, and then they just end up kind of slowly being adopted into what ends up becoming our style as it is interpreted by other people. I'll tell you at this point, like, all those flannels that people have, with the color coding system that people have come to know and love, that, we're a regular part of like my wardrobe rotation at the time when I was starting the channel. I don't even wear those anymore unless I'm doing a video. Like I'm not wearing any of those flannels when I'm out and about. And at one time I would, it was just like naturally a part of my style, but it just like kind of became such a thing for people visually in the videos that it just, kind of remains to be just a part of the look as opposed to a part of my regular life.
Yeah. I used to wear gray hoodies all the time. I absolutely don't anymore.
Now it's just become like, the mask essentially.
Yeah,
and when you have it on, it just feels like work.
Basically, yeah. I only own this for work.
So, with that being said, though, I mean, you sort of made this choice early on to, remain as anonymous or as in the shadows as possible. Are there sort of like ups or downs to having kind of made that decision early on that, have kind of...
So you also know that every independent body that has looked at this has concluded there was no widespread rigging, that it was a free and fair election, and Trump lost.
Piers Morgan recently conducted a virally explosive and adversarial interview that lasted claim that the election was stolen from Trump when in fact it obviously was not. Trump just got his ass kicked fair and square. This is interesting because as he was confronting Fuentes, whom he does not like, Piers was also forced to criticize and call out Donald Trump on an issue that matters a great deal to Trump. But before we unpack all, call out Donald Trump on an issue that matters a great deal to Trump. But before we unpack all, subscribe in the 2 hours side of things as it relates to domestic U.S. politics and Trump
is when the government
between these two men.
Well, I think the first step to anarchy is when the government rigs the election, which is what happened. That is when the government loses its legitimacy, and its enforcers, consequently, do also.
Well,
that's exactly what happened in 2020.
There was no evidence the government rigged the election. You know that. You're a bright guy.
Well, let's talk about it. You want to talk about the election of 2020?
Yeah. I think Trump lost it fair and square. I think he fought the wrong argument about the stolen election. I've said...
So let's stop right there. Okay, again, this is what I find so interesting. So it's not that Piers won't occasionally criticize Trump. He has before. It's that he pulls his punches. He grades Trump on a curve. He holds Trump to a lower standard. Now, this is stupid and irrational and dishonest, and we rightly call Piers out because he will always lose that debate.
Much of any standard.
But it's interesting when he encounters someone who's a Trump supporter. Now Fuentes is also on the outs with Trump at the moment because Fuentes claims, much like Marjorie Taylor Greene, that Trump has not done enough to fulfill his campaign promises, that he's still too swampy, he's still too interested in like neocon Republican policies, tax cuts, and not like affecting the populist campaign he ran on. And there's a lot of truth to that there was a bait and switch with Trump. Though, again, anyone paying attention should have seen that coming a mile away. And so it's just so funny about this. Now, I will remind you that this was litigated in more than 60 court cases, and Trump lost 59 out of 60. There has been no credible investigation into the 2020 election at the local, state, or federal level which supports the conclusion that there was any outcome determinative fraud that would have changed the results of the election. So with that in mind, let's hear how Piers tries to walk this tightrope.
We did
To
have
him, to his
find
face,
instances of
the argument he
Republicans
should have said
committing fraud
is
to vote
that the
for Trump.
deliberate suppression of things like the Hunter Biden laptop scandal from the media, by social media, by big tech, was actually a deliberate attempt
Nobody
to subvert the
cared.
result of the election.
Now, again, Piers has no evidence of that. This is where Piers always loses the debate, where he tries to
Yeah.
throw Trump a bone.
Number one, that's bullshit. Number two, everybody knew about the laptop and nobody fucking cared except for fucking Trump and his dick suckers. For some reason, they think, well, if we just talked about that laptop just a little bit more, I mean, good God, you were getting made fun of then, you're getting made fun of now. Nobody fucking cares.
Piers has no evidence, none, zilch, zero, that there was any sort of collusion between big tech and anybody to suppress a story that was politically damaging to President Biden to cost Trump the election. Now, it is true that the New York Post story, which was kept as an October surprise by Rudy Giuliani, a bad faith attack in the 11th hour of the election, that it was briefly suppressed by Twitter because it felt it violated Twitter's terms of service. It included non-consensual images of Hunter Biden that are nude, for example, right? And as the Twitter files, the so-called Twitter files, were examined years later, mountains of evidence, emails, and correspondence about the people who enforce the terms of service going back and forth. Like, should we do this? Should we not do this? It feels like this violates TOS, but maybe it doesn't. There was like hefty good faith debate behind the scenes about this issue. So Piers is being incredibly reductive and dishonest here when he suggests that there was some sort of grand conspiracy in the private sector
But then you have to get
prevent Trump
the
from winning
voters to
power. There's no
actually
evidence
give
of
a
that.
shit.
And that's a much better argument because it's
Why do you-
undeniable.
why do
when the
you-
New York Post that had that exclusive.
Why are so many people so fucking stupid that they think, you know what? The whole world revolves around the Hunter's laptop, the thing that I've getting made fun of for. Every time I bring it up, everybody makes fun of me. But I'm just going to keep on bringing it up and keep swearing up and down. It's just the pivot of the whole fucking universe, and everything depended on that fucking laptop. God.
Exclusive were basically shadow banned off all social media.
So
Again, no evidence. No, that's not a good argument. There was no evidence that they did this to try to swing the election for Trump. They thought that it was Russian propaganda and a TOS
Good God.
violation.
For the 2 weeks before the election, that was an absolute disgrace. And if I was Donald Trump, I would focus on that as being my main argument that that election was slanted against him. When he goes off into saying that there was widespread rigging and voter systems were wrong, and we've litigated all this now through various court cases. Various Republican judges have ruled there was no rigging of that kind. In fact, the American election system is accepted by most people around the world as being one of the best in the world, one of the most reliable. So I just think he fought the wrong argument. If he said the deliberate suppression of damaging stories to the Bidens, which could have swung the election, was outrageous and unacceptable, I'm 100% behind it. But by building this...
The only story you have is this fucking laptop that you get made fun of for every time you fucking bring it up. But you think that talking about the laptop sooner, so you could have gotten made fun of longer, would have somehow changed everything. Okay.
Spurious argument that it was all rigged through voting systems and so on, he lost me.
So again, Piers is forced to kind of humiliate Trump and throw him under the bus. Trump doesn't say, oh, big tech was against me there. He hints at that at time, but he says that there was a mass conspiracy at the rigging level, the vote changing, vote counts, vote suppression, things of that nature, that the machinery of the election was changed. Again, he has no evidence of that. I'll point out again this idea, oh, the media was against me. Okay, well, Hillary Clinton could have made the same argument in the sense that after it was reported that the FBI was reopening its investigation into her in 2016 and the media ran wild with it, it dominated coverage, that was politically damaging for her, even though the FBI said, hey, there's no evidence here. It's just we reopened the investigation. We didn't find any evidence of crime, but we did reopen it. The fact that announcement was made days before the 2016 election absolutely helped undermine her in 2016. So by Piers' logic, just to close the loop on this, I guess Trump and the FBI stole the election in 2016 from Hillary Clinton, right? No, we don't accept it. There is, unfortunately, not an even terrain with respect to media. Sometimes it benefits the right, sometimes it benefits the left.
Okay, so I almost never take video suggestions. It's nothing against you or the videos you want me to make. I just have a lot of ideas for stuff that I want to do on my own. But every now and then, someone gives me a suggestion that's just too good to pass down. This happened the other day on Blue Sky, when a user named Electric Dad asked me this question about why so many 50s songs are about teenagers dying. And honestly, I think this is a great question. The trend Electric Dad is talking about here is known as the teenage tragedy song. And while it started with a 1955 song, the trend was actually a bit more of a 60s thing. People kind of wrap it into the 50s. The song that's often considered to be the first teenage tragedy song is Black Denim Trousers and Motorcycle Boots by the Cheers.
He wore black denim trousers and motorcycle boots and a black leather jacket with an eagle on the back. He had a hopped-up sickle that took off like a gun. That fool was the terror of Highway 101.
That song, written by Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, tells the story of a motorcycle bad boy known as the Terror of Highway 101 and his loyal girlfriend, Mary Lou.
He had a pretty girlfriend by the name of Mary Lou, but he treated her just like he treated all the rest. And everybody pitied her, cause everybody knew he loved that doggone motorcycle best.
One night, Mary Lou gets an ominous feeling and begs her beau to not go out riding.
Mary Lou, poor girl, she pleaded and she begged him not to leave. She said, I've got a feeling if you ride tonight, I'll grieve.
The Terror ignores this advice and rides his motorcycle right into a diesel truck, dying and leaving behind only his iconic jacket and boots.
But he hit a screaming diesel that was California bound, and when they cleared the wreckage, all they found was his black denim trousers and motorcycle boots and a black leather jacket with an eagle on the back.
Black Denim Trousers and Motorcycle Boots was released in August of 1955. Wow. Just over a month later,
the old-fashioned. Enter this thing. So I assume that it's ridged around the top for cracking, but I personally can't really recommend that. You're not supposed to crack on hard edges, both because it introduces bacteria into the egg itself, but also because it increases the chances of little egg fragments. I was just gonna pour it on the countertop. But see, look at all those fragments. Look at the fragments. I'll show you the fragments. Look at those fragments. Do you see all those fragments, you head? Oh, it's hard. It's gonna be hard to crack in there. How do you? Ooh, that was precarious. That was Sicario 2 precarious. Oh, look at it vomit the white. Look at it just.
I'm being rude?
Yes.
And how is that?
How is that? I'm trying to explain to you, you're in the park after hours and you're committing a crime.
That's a crime?
It is.
Over 2 years ago, I showed you a video about a 62-year-old grandfather named Kevin Hinton. He was driving late one night on a road trip, returning from meeting his brand new baby granddaughter in Oregon. He was too tired to continue driving. He couldn't keep his eyes open, so he pulled over in a public parking lot in Spokane, Washington to take a nap. But then he was awakened by the arrival of Sergeant Clay Hilton with the Spokane County Sheriff's Office. And 3 minutes later, he would have 8 broken ribs, a punctured lung, a severe concussion, a shoulder injury, and a disfigured lip. Why? Because Sergeant Hilton thought this 62-year-old grandfather was rude to him.
It's crazy how introduce police into any situation, and they are always 100% of the time the greatest threat to public safety. But yet, they say everyone else is.
Get on the ground! What part of that did you not understand?
I didn't do anything. You hit me so many times. Why? Why did you hit me?
Because you weren't listening.
But now, over 2 years later, there's a huge update to my original video about this. Sergeant Hilton has not only been fired, but is now facing federal criminal charges.
Belongs in front of a fucking firing squad.
It was after 10:30 p.m. on August 14th, 2023. Mr. Hinton pulled into a public parking lot near Terrace View Park to take a nap. He pulled off his shoes, he yanked the pillow over, he turned on a movie that he could fall asleep to. His pet umbrella cockatoo, Lily, was nestled in a passenger seat just next to him. But this peaceful scene was not going to last for long. At about 11:45 p.m., Sergeant Hilton showed up. He shined a flashlight into the window of Mr. Hinton's car, and he identification.
All right.
You're
Crime?
not. It is. Yes.
No, it's not.
You want to bet?
It's a civil offense.
It's not. Do you have your ID?
Really? I'm not shutting the door. I'm rolling the window down.
Mr. Hinton refused to tell the deputy his name or provide identity.
You are going to get hurt. If
I
you don't
am?
listen to what I'm telling you.
Are you audio video recording this?
I already told you that. Get on the,
Hey,
get on the ground.
Jail staff refuses to book him because of the injuries. Eventually, I guess prosecutors look at the footage and they're shocked by it. They drop all of the charges against Mr. Hinton and they place Sergeant Hilton on leave. After my video from 2 years ago, at some point, the sheriff of that county fires Hilton. And then, just recently, here's the best news of all. October 22nd, 2025, the feds indict now former Sergeant Hilton on federal civil rights charges. A federal grand jury charged Clay V. Hilton, age 52, with deprivation of rights under color of law and falsification of records in a federal investigation. The deprivation of rights charge says that Hilton punched and kneed Kevin Hinton in the head and torso, thus depriving him of his constitutional rights, including the right to be free from an unreasonable seizure and unreasonable force by a deputy. The second federal charge indicated that the day after this assault of Mr. Hinton, that Sergeant Hilton falsified a sheriff's office field case report relating to his use of force against Mr. Hinton by stating, quote, "I could see a folding knife in his driver's door pocket and fixed blade knife between his seat and the driver's side," when we all know from watching the body cam footage that that is complete bullshit. Spokane County Sheriff John Knowles fired Hilton last year for this misconduct and I guess other misconduct. Sheriff Knowles also disciplined the other officers who had responded to this scene after their internal investigation showed that some members of the sheriff's office, including supervisors, failed to meet the department's standards of conduct during and after the incident. And those would be the people who showed up and they're like laughing and joking with Hilton about having just beat up this grandfather. So now Hilton faces 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine if convicted of the falsification of records charge. The deprivation of rights carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison and also a $250,000 fine. Hilton has already pled not guilty to the charges during his initial appearance. And get this, his attorney, Brian Hirschman, who was also representing Hilton in a state prosecution for the same allegations, he called his client an honorable and humble man. Obviously.
Get on the ground! What part of that did you not understand?
I didn't do anything. You hit me so many times. Why? Why did you hit me?
Because you weren't listening.
I consider these charges to be very unfair, Hirschman said Wednesday. Hirschman said his client has a, quote, very substantial defense. Obviously.
Now you want to tell me your name?
Oh, my name is Kevin.
This whole case is so aggravating to me as a defense lawyer and as a citizen, said Hirschman, who's based in Tacoma. I got a client who had the audacity to enforce the law, and apparently in today's environment, citizens are allowed to say no. It's very weird. Seriously, what a bag. Hinton is also still facing the federal civil rights lawsuit that was filed last year against Hilton, as well as the sheriff's office. That case is still pending. I will link a copy of that lawsuit as well as the criminal indictment below.